me. But if you want a good deep dive like we've done here today, go listen to the Good Edit podcast because they did a deep dive on Erica Jade and Bronwyn, and they do what I can never do. I'm not good at deep dives. If I didn't do 9 episodes a week and I would do a deep dive, I have no time.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. There has been a lot of work that we've been putting into this so far. You've been a great client, great to work with. But yeah, no, I mean, there were lots of videos, there were hours of footage. We went through transcripts of these episodes, and we've put it together in tables charting all of these statements. So, like I said, we could go through. We have about 15 of those episodes that we've done that deep dive for at this point. I'm sure we could put more into those as well if they want to force our hand into doing that. But it
When
takes
they
a lot of time, and we'll continue doing it. We have a lot more to talk about. We only, I think, tip of the iceberg at this point with the statements and evidence that we have at this point.
Yes, well, all the clapbacks, then we'll be back so we can keep this going forever. Before we go, let's talk about my friend Sarah McSpadden, Sarah from Texas. There were recent claims, there were two recent claims on the Reality Court podcast and with Kelly, two separate claims. The first claim is that, and it's very upsetting, Sarah got this. Look, Sarah is somebody who I absolutely love dearly. I think she should hire me for an hour. I love her dearly. I would say this to her face to talk about how to not care at all. I think Sarah cares, which makes her a wonderful human being. They said that she has a restraining order filed against her by Jeff Lewis. Jeff Lewis is famous. When she started her career, Sarah, she focused mainly on recapping Jeff Lewis stuff. Jeff knows her. They've spoken before. So they said on the rail that she has I think I told her she should contact you to sue. That would be my advice to her, that she has a restraining order against her by Jeff Lewis. That's a real strong claim.
Yeah, it is. And, I know that she hasn't hired us yet. I know that she's not our client. But again, this is not stalking. This is not, cyberbullying or anything like that. We just went and we checked the public dockets in Texas to see if in the unified court system of Texas, if there were any filings for a restraining order. We also checked California, even though it'd be
Because
unlikely.
that's where Jeff lives. So, like, to me, he lives in Highland Park. Everyone knows that. So I would have thought California, but you checked Texas and California to see if there's any restraining order against Sarah McSpadden.
Exactly, because the reason why we started with Texas first is because if it came from California, if it came from any other state within the United States, if Sarah lives in Texas, it needs to be what's called domesticated, which means that it's brought within the state court's jurisdiction. So there would have to be some sort of a state court proceeding that's opened, even if it originated from another state. They would have had to have opened a court proceeding solely for the purpose of bringing her within that court's jurisdiction to enforce the restraining order, especially if she ever violated it. So I know that there's been a lot of statements saying that they have such an order, but we have checked the California dockets, we have checked the Texas dockets. Really, we don't have a need to check the other states' dockets, but we could certainly do that as well if they want to try to come back and say, "Oh, it was filed in Missouri, and you're not going to find it in either of these dockets." Okay, we'll go check Missouri. But those are the two most likely spots where it would have originated from, and there's absolutely nothing in the court system involving Mr. Black and Sarah. So there's
Mr.
nothing.
Lewis,
Or
Jeff
Mr.
Lewis.
Lewis. I'm sorry, Mr.
It's
Lewis.
okay. I don't expect you to know all these people. No, and shout out to Sarah underscore from underscore Texas underscore podcast underscore. That's her Instagram. Go Sarah. She started small. She's got a really loyal following. Like I said, that's really my main reason for doing this. I have you. I know I can handle myself. Things don't bother me. When I see other people getting this, but I did text Sarah and tell her this, and we had a laugh because she's like, "Ugh, I'm so relieved. There's no restraining order against Sarah. She's a good girl, but I do think she should retain you. That's my advice. If it were me. But okay, so there's Sarah. So there's no restraining order against her in Texas. California, you explained why in Texas against Jeff Lewis. So that is a complete lie, defamation per se, I feel. Now, there's other claims against Sarah as well by Kelly. There's more. This is the intimidation factor. Kelly has said that she was getting on a plane and flying to Pearland, Texas. Now, I've heard of Austin, I've heard of Houston, I've heard of Dallas. I've never heard of Pearland, Texas. That is where Sarah lives. I said to Sarah, can I reveal on air that you live in Pearland, Texas? She said yes. Not that that's doxing. I once had my co-host Sarah here. I said, "Oh, you live in whatever part of LA." Oh my God, she went crazy. I'm like, it's like saying you live in like downtown New York. It's doesn't really tell people exactly where you live. So, but Sarah has given me permission to reveal. So Kelly said she was on a plane flying to Pearland, Texas. That to me is an intimidation factor back to the cyber stalking, the cyber bullying to try to intimidate Sarah that we know your hometown. Kelly said she was on a plane, paid for a plane ticket, flying to state to land down in Texas and go file a police report there. Police reports. Not in, she's going to do it in Texas against Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that's further intimidation, further harassment, further evidence of doxing. When you're talking about cyber stalking, doxing is something that we've all heard. It's very much out in the public forum right now, and a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are upset about it, and so what she's doing, she knows what she's doing. She's talking about somebody who's not the same type of public figure that she is, and Kelly is, blowing her up, basically encouraging her followers, her people listening to her podcast to go and take that flight down to Texas and to go find Sarah for her, right? Like she knows what she's doing. She knows why she's saying that. There's no other reason why she would be making those statements.
Or at the very least, to incite Sarah to be bogged down with thousands of direct messages like, you scumbag, Kelly's coming for you, beware, little girl, whatever it is.
Yeah. And again, I mean, if that's what she's intending to do to incite the cyberbullying, that is actually recognized as being part of that crime. So, she knows what she's doing. And, this is what often happens. The people who are the loudest about what they complain about are typically the ones who are doing that exact thing.
Correct. And just to be clear, because maybe Kelly did get on a plane and fly to Texas, but did she file you can go to Texas, but did Kelly file a police report against Sarah in Pearland, Texas?
Based on what we found so far, no, we did file FOIL requests. I will be honest with you. I don't know if I shared this with you beforehand. They want her birthday, Sarah's birthday. They also want some other personal information as well. So they're being a little bit more restrictive on the information that they're giving out to us. But based on what we're getting back at this point, we're not seeing any evidence of police reports either. And even if there was, I would just point out the fact that they're saying it's a restraining order, not the fact that they're going to the police department and asking for a restraining order. An order means that it comes from the court. So it's not, an order is not going to come from a police department. So I just would want to point that out for your viewers as well.
And yeah, like I guess on that podcast, they said that she actually had one by Jeff Lewis. And I think Kelly was implying she was going to do a police report like she did for me, which we proved didn't exist. And she did for the doctor, which we proved exists. And I do have this from your paralegal, like Dare Paralegal. I can mention the paralegal's name if you want, for Davenport Law. The city has, so I think they actually got back to her. Now, the city has concluded its search for any existing documents to fulfill your request. Your paralegal put in Kelly Dodd, Kelly Leventhal, Rick Leventhal, and Sarah McSpadden. I think they did it. I thought, maybe I'm wrong, even though they didn't have her birthday. The city has no responsive records to your request. There are no records found with names and dates of birth during the time period provided.
You're right.
Can you provide, well, I think what happened, can you provide someone's birth date without them giving it to you? I'm not saying that's what
So
happened.
I actually mixed them up. It was a different police department. It was
Okay.
the Texas Police Department. So yes, we actually did get a response, and they said that there was absolutely nothing. So there's no police reports either. I actually misspoke on that.
I don't want to
No,
call
no,
you
I'm
on it,
going back and
but
looking. It was there was another. I think it was California, one of the California police departments, but not Orange County, not Huntington Beach.
so somehow, right. So Texas did give it out. And it says right here, and let's not forget that I am a lawyer. Again, we just proved that. So I do have my attention to detail sometimes. It says for your paralegal, the city has concluded there are, no documents. The city has no responsive records. Your paralegal put in when they did the FOIL to the Pearland City of Pearland Police Department. She said, I want you to search Sarah McSpadden, Kelly Dodd, Kelly Leventhal, and Rick Leventhal. And I'm reading it. There are no records found with names and birth dates. So Sarah McSpadden, you have no police report against you. And it
Right.
says right here, thank you, City of Pearland, City Secretary's Office, 3519 Liberty Drive, Pearland,
Yep.
Texas. So Sarah, I know you're sleeping well tonight, but anyway, just so you know, there are no police reports against you in Texas by Kelly. She did not. Maybe she got on a plane for a vacation or something.
Yeah, maybe. But what I can tell you is that she certainly didn't do it for a police report based on the response that we got from their police department.
I mean, I can't believe I kept you this long. I hope that you didn't miss any